Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today I am playing another game which one of you guys sent to me to this email right here on the screen. If you have a game where you think all hope is lost, just send it my way and maybe I will be saving it in the next one of my videos. With that said, let's jump right into this one. So first of all, you guys sent me a lot of Save Your Disaster game files after the last video, so I just want to thank you guys for doing that. But here I was, trying to find a new game to play, so I drop them into my game folder, and what do I see? Missing mods. Well, first of all guys, you can't send me a game that has mods on it because I do not play with mods, and I don't know what mods you guys could be using. It could be malware for all I know. The other thing, I got a few games that are missing some DLCs. Fashion. You guys buy this cosmetic stuff? Another one. Do you guys really mean that I'm gonna have to buy a fashion DLC just to be able to play your disaster files? I can't believe I'm doing this. Don't tell me I don't do anything for you guys. Alright, so I paid for the damn cosmetic pack. And this guy here, Braden, says that he actually started this game as the Duke of Wessex. And he just says casually eventually took over the Byzantine Empire. I'm not sure how you just casually go from living in Wessex and then owning the Byzantine Empire. But it looks like you did it, so that is quite a feat of its own. But, of course, you sent me this game not because you were doing well, but because it is supposed to be a disaster game. And when I look down here at some of these wars, I might have to agree with that.
I'm fighting for my life!
It looks like you're being attacked by almost 40,000 people who want to install your sister, it seems, on the throne. I've had a look around this game already, and I think this is going to be a tough war to win. These other two wars aren't so important. This one here is just a war with your ally, and this one here is an independence war with some of your vassals in England who, to be honest, I don't really care about right now, considering you're fighting 40,000 troops to replace you on the throne, which essentially means you'll pretty much lose the game. If we're going to do anything, it's going to be defend against this war. You can see we got a few big stacks running around down here. We have 11k here and 11k here. So my main goal for this would be to at least stack wipe some of these people here, kill off one of these armies, and then we might actually have a chance in this war. To help me do this, there's a few things I'm going to do first. And the first thing is make sure we have as many high prowess knights that we can get. And we also need a new marshal. So we'll choose the highest guy which you have right now, and you have him right now on increasing control in Constantinople, which is honestly fair. That normally would be the most important thing that I would be doing here, but since we're at a war right now, I'm actually going to switch this to organized levies, because you can see it will actually increase the amount of levies you can have and the rate of which they're going to increase. So you should see this number will increase once we hit play here. You can see we have a total amount of troops right now of 11,000, but if we go here with our allies, we have a total of 21,000. So honestly, half as many troops as the attackers, we might be able to pull it off.
This is where the fun begins.
Another thing that we could do is murder our sister, which would also stop this faction. And we actually have a 30% chance, but the only problem with this is that it would take 5 years to complete. But I'm going to get that started anyway. And you can see we could always bribe one of these people right here. So I'm going to bribe this guy just to get this up to a high percentage. Just like that. And you can see, so now it actually has 95% success chance, 95% secrecy, which is the max. And it actually brought the time down to 19 months. So technically, all that we would have to do now is just survive this war for 19 months until we are able to kill our sister. So I just raised... Even though I have my whole big army here, I raised another army here because I just hired some new knights. So this second army should contain all the knights that weren't in the first army. And you can see that right here, we have 4 knights actually. So if I just left my normal army, we would have only had 7 knights in that army. And I'd much rather have 11, considering that knights are super important for your damage. What we are going to do right away is actually run over here and try to fight some of these guys. Another thing we can do is you have one son here who isn't married yet, so I'm going to go and marry him off to the person with the strongest military that he can get. And I'm going to invite them to this war because that's just going to be a little bit of help. And it looks like we actually will catch a good amount of men here with a big chunk of our army.
Fuck off, Hill! please!
Oh, and it looks like we're actually going to win this battle, which is pretty big. And with some big battle scores too, which I do like. That should help kill a lot of their units, which is really what we have to do in these wars, is get a lot of kills. So if we look at this victory here, we fought off a total of 15,000 men, and we actually killed more than we lost, which is what we need to do. So now with our stack of 10k men, we should actually be able to run over here and wipe these 3 armies. Another thing I did want to do was switch over actually to strategy focus, because it's going to give me a little bit more martial ability, and that'll actually help with my units. And while I do that, I will switch my wife onto chivalry, so that also boosts it. You can see we're up to 17 now, which does give us an 18% boost to our levy size. And you can see we actually are faced with a populist faction here, and it's asking us to convert. And honestly, Braden here didn't specify if he really wanted to stay Catholic and Anglo-Saxon, which is what his culture and religion are right now. So I could convert, and then I wouldn't have to deal with this this faction here, which is like, we already have enough wars going on right now. So you know what, I will actually just accept that to get that over with. I find if you're playing, like if you took over the Byzantine Empire, you kind of have to be Greek Orthodox, or else it just doesn't really work. But hopefully Braden isn't too mad at me. And we killed actually a lot of men in that one, which is... Okay, so another big battle win against 12,000 men. And as we fight, I'm going to keep recruiting new knights to my court, because we're going to be losing them pretty often. And the most important thing is, after you recruit them, you have to remember to raise them again in your capital or wherever your nearest flag is. So for now, I'm going to move my armies back into Constantinople. And if we look at the war screen here, you can see we actually brought them down to 26,000, and we still have 20,000. So we might actually have a chance to win this big war. So we have the scheme here to kill my sister, which actually got discovered. So you can see it lost 75%, but I hired a couple more people to bring it back up to 60. So let's see if it goes through. And it looks like it did. That is absolutely perfect. So look at that, it actually invalidates the faction to replace me, which I am a huge fan of, because that was a massive war. Even though we were potentially on our way to win that war, I'd much rather be out of it, because you can see here we have a bunch of other wars going on. And this is actually good for me, because it means I might just be able to stop Cornwall and his friends from rebelling against me here, as well as this Norseman army, and of course a Russian populist faction, which all rose up against me. So unfortunately we lost the war with Cornwall. I was just a little bit too late in raising these armies here, but I think we should actually be able to fight off this Norseman army, which is trying to conquer part of Ireland, which I also hold. So I'm going to run my way over to Ireland quickly, and you can see we will win this battle pretty good, and we defeated the Norseman army. So if we take a look at this populist uprising, you can see there's actually 17k men who are fighting against. So I'm actually going to call some of my allies, because when you're on a defensive war, you actually don't lose any prestige or fame for calling your allies into it. It'll just help make this a little bit easier, and after the wars we have been fighting, that's exactly what we need. So I just want a decently sized battle against 10k troops, so that's going to help the war score a lot. Okay, and we just hit 100% war score, so we can finish that off. And now you can see we actually successfully defended against all of those wars. Unfortunately, we lost the war with Cornwall. And we only ended up losing a little bit of land here in Scotland, England, and Ireland, which honestly we're gonna have to take, considering that we actually held the entire Byzantine Empire together. Since we just lost the war with places like Cornwall and Scotland, you can see we won't be able to declare war against them right away, because we have to wait for the truce to end. So in the meantime, you can see that we have a ton of money, because I just did a tax I just got a tax exemption from the Orthodox Pope. And you can also see down here that we have 22 prisoners that can be ransomed for gold. So I'm going to commit a mass ransom on that. And you can see we also have a lot of hooks that demand payment. So I'm going to go and try to get all this money.
Boom, bam, bop.
So you can see we jumped all the way to 2,200 just from the 22 ransoms that we did. But I know one thing I definitely want to do with this money is actually upgrade our siege weapons, because you can see we only have one thing of onagers and we only have 3 of them. So I'm going to go ahead and create a whole other regiment of onagers and max those out, as well as just increasing some, as well as getting rid of some of these light footmen, just because I don't find it's that useful to have so many of these guys, especially when they're not even being boosted by any of your domains. Like you can see these armored footmen are getting a huge boost from your building, so I'm going to try to max those guys out as well. And I'll probably go ahead and create at least some bowmen, because they're going to help on the offense in these terrains. And they are also quite cheap, so I think it's always a good idea to have some bowmen. And honestly, most of my games I don't even use light footmen because they're barely stronger than levies. So I'm going to get rid of this other regiment as well in exchange for some pikemen, because the pikemen are really good on the defense and they're also very good in mountain tiles. So I like to have a wide array of different men-at-arms, and I'm going to max these guys out as well because we do have so much money, and because those men-at-arms are really going to help carry our military. That brings us to a little something I like to call Meme of the Week. And on this week's segment of Meme of the Week, we have a beautifully relatable meme. Well, actually, maybe it would be a little bit more relatable if we just did that. Well, that's it for this week's segment of Meme of the Week. So in my quick decision to convert to Greek Orthodox, I've realized that I can actually revert this because my player heir is Catholic Anglo-Saxon. So when my player dies, I will actually turn into a Catholic Anglo-Saxon player, and that may cause problems for the Byzantine Empire and all the Greek vassals. But what it means now is that I can kind of re-delay that decision of converting, because if I want, I could always convert my son religion-wise, and then later in the game I will probably have an option to convert his culture as well, or I can just leave him how he is now and continue to play as a Catholic Anglo-Saxon player. And what really will decide that for me is kind of like where my empire is and which religion we are the most of. And as you can see, we are almost like a dead split. We have Catholic rulers all over here in England, in the British Isles, as well as in our parts of our empire in Italy, as well as these areas here. I think what I'm going to do as a good middle ground is actually demand conversion from my son, so that he will be an Orthodox player, but he'll still remain Anglo-Saxon, because maybe you wanted to control the Byzantine Empire as an Englishman, which, you know, it's kind of cool. I can't say I've ever done that before, so you have that going for you for sure. So I decided to start taking back some of this land that we lost over here. So I am moving a 13k stack down here to kill these guys. I'm also going to start going down the strategist military tree to pick up some of these very good perks for military, because of course I plan on fighting Scotland and Cornwall, so I want a little bit extra boost so I don't have to raise as many men and waste my money having these big stacks being raised. So one good thing about our character is he actually has the sadistic trait, meaning I can murder my own son here.
My lord, is that legal?
I will make it legal.
I disinherited one of my sons because the murder chance was a little bit low, and we have a lot of renown, to be fair. But if we could save some just by murdering this guy, I think we can be okay. And we're going to invite this lady right here to the murder scheme, which should bring it up to 95, which will mean that our son and player heir, who is a genius, may I add, will inherit all of our titles and be perfectly set to play as our next character. We can go to war with Cornwall finally. However, there's not really many war types that give us a ton of land, so I think what I'm gonna have to do is just go to war for one duchy at a time. And I might start with Cornwall just to like take their capital, you know, like really stick it to them. And they're not that strong really. So I think we honestly probably can do it with a local army here and not have to raise all of our forces. So now we can march over to the capital of Cornwall. Also, let's kill our son. Sucks to suck, but he's gone.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Which takes us to 100%, so we can enforce our demands, and we're slowly going to retake all of the land that we lost in that small little independence war. Next on our chopping block is Scotland, where I'm trying to see if we have anybody who has some big claims here. Okay, this is perfect. So you can see here, we actually have a vassal who has claims on all of Scotland, so we can get all this land at once. It does cost 600 prestige, but if you look at our prestige, we have actual heaps of it. So I do not mind in the slightest spending 600. Again, I'll raise just a local army because Scotland really isn't that strong. They're going to take some land in Ireland, but I do not have a problem with that. A Norseman army, eh? These guys love declaring war on me, I'll tell you that much. But now that I'm together, I have no problem destroying a few Norseman armies. Okay, so we're going to do an interesting test here. You can see we have standing an army of 8,000 Vikings, but it is just an army of 8,000 levies. And then down here we have an army of 1,000 Vikings, but 1,000 men-at-arms Vikings. But in my army, although it is only 6,200, you can see we actually have a lot more men-at-arms as well as more knights. So we're gonna have to see who will win this battle. But I think as the numbers get lower, we should win, maybe? So you can see we actually lost the battle, but we killed more men than we did lose. So if we let our armies replenish here and then go back in for another battle, I think we'll probably win it. And now that it's not winter, I'll march over there and give them a good smack. Okay, so that's 8,000 dead Vikings. Maybe now they'll finally stop attacking me. And now we have to go back and deal with Scotland again because we didn't finish killing them while we got intercepted by those Vikings. So you can see here one good thing about making two different regiments of your siege weapons that you have available to you. You can always split your armies in half, go into one army, pull out one regiment of siege weapons and put it into your other army, and now I have two armies who will go around taking castles very quickly. And after taking a few more pieces of Scottish land, we can now enforce our demands, and just like that, we have Scotland back as well. So I think I'm gonna have an independence faction here from all these guys, but we should probably be able to defend against it. None of them are really that strong. I also decided to switch up which duchies I was holding. I got rid of this duchy over here because I held, I think, 3 domains from it, and in this war with Mercia, I actually picked up the Duchy of Mercia, which had 5 domains, so I thought I should keep that one anyway, and I'm slowly going around raising the control in these areas. So I'm going to go ahead and build some more buildings in here because you can see we have just tons of money right now. I'm going to construct farms and fields because those are some of the best value buildings in the game. And I just want this money to keep going up and up and up because that's going to be the key to our success, both in having a big military and having buildings that'll boost our military. Okay, so here, this is what I thought was going to happen. We're going to get a war declared on us from an independent faction, and actually you can see they have 15,000 men, so honestly not too many. If I come here and raise a local army, I should be able to fight the guys off who are in the British Isles at least, and then hopefully I would be able to go down and fight some of the other ones who are in Central Europe. So these independent factions, if you are at this level where you're this big, as long as you don't let them group up, which is really hard for the enemy to do, considering you can see we have people trying to break off from us all over the world, essentially. It is really hard for them to group up. So if you can kind of deal with them on a one-on-one basis, then you can deal with it pretty easily. So as you can probably tell, I'm smoking both of these wars I have going for me right now, and we just finished the Independence War. which means we have a bunch of new prisoners, which is a lot of fun because it means that we will be able to redistribute some of this land over here, as you can see from this big king, who actually, like, he was a little bit too powerful for my liking. You can see all the land he has, so revoking his titles because he's in prison and redistributing his land to people who like me, I think will help a lot in this situation. Okay, so we finally finished that. Anglo-Saxon capitalist populist uprising. I think it's finally time for us just to relax in peace for a bit. You can see our gold has actually built up to almost 5,000. I'm gonna go ahead and just upgrade all the buildings in every single county that I hold. I'm building a lot of barracks anywhere. I'm building barracks anywhere I see and upgrading them because you can see that actually gives you a huge bonus to the damage of your armored footmen, which are some of the strongest units in the game. You can see our armored footmen are really strong now. I think honestly I'm gonna get rid of these other regiment of light footmen in exchange for some horsemen, because the horsemen are really good at pursuit, which means after you win a battle there's a retreat phase, and in this retreat phase this pursuit stat affects how many of the enemies you kill. So if you're winning a lot of battles but you don't see the enemy troops number going down, it's probably because you don't have enough pursuit stat on your unit. So it's always good to pick up some light horsemen in that case. You can see we finally have almost the whole British Isles. I think my vassals should be able to just get rid of some of these really weak people who are still part of the British Isles, and any of this border gore over here. But you can see we are actually doing amazingly well. We have so much gold, I almost don't have enough things to spend it on, and we will be going up to over 21,000 troops, making us one of the strongest people in the game. So we should finally have some times of peace here where we can upgrade our men and our military. And actually, instead of me getting to enjoy this game, I think what I am going to do is end the video here. I think I can consider this one saved. It looks like we are doing quite well stat wise, and Brayden, you're actually completely set to play as your genius son here, which should be a lot of fun for you. On that note, I'm going to end this video here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I definitely did, and I will see you guys in the next one.